Hello, my dear students. I am Dr. Bandana from Department of English DAV PG College Varanasi. Today's lecture will be based on Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie is an Indian-born British essayist and author of fiction, one of the major literary voices of our time, the most celebrated authors of recent times. He became very famous and received various plaudits, tremendous fame, accolades because of his second novel, Midnight Children. This novel is a very huge novel. The canvas of this novel is very big. He here talks about various issues, subjects, and using various techniques, styles, forms to write this ambitious work. It is really a humorous task to finish this novel in a stipulated time, but I will make an effort to make some concepts of this novel clear for you. Let's begin with the life history of best-selling author, the canonical author of today's era, Sir Ahmad Salman Rushdie. He was born on 19 June in 1947 in Bombay, now which has been called as Mumbai, into a Muslim family of Kashmiri descent. I will advise you to remember these details from his life. It will be helpful for you while dealing with Nice Children as an autofiction. His parents were well educated. His father was a Cambridge educated lawyer turned businessman, and his mother was a teacher. This family was very rich and prosperous. He was educated at Cathedral and John Connon School in Mumbai and King's College, University of Cambridge, where he studied history. He moved briefly to Pakistan, where his family migrated. He lived there for some time and then went to England. Rushdie has been married 4 times. He worked for some time with a multimedia theatre group and an advertising company. Because of his contribution in the field of literature, he has received various awards, various prizes. He has received 8 honorary doctorates. Rushdie has acknowledged as the inaugurator of particular kind of writing and a particular kind of experience in Indian writing in English. Due to Midnight Children overwhelming impact upon the ensuing generation of writers, the decade following its publication have been termed post-Rushdie years. Through this, you can understand the recognition, the fame that Sir Ahmad Salman Rushdie is having. He is a prolific writer, writing essays, fictions, many other things. These are the names of some important, significant works which he has written. His debut novel is Grimace, published in 1975. It is a fantasy and science fiction. It is his second novel, Midnight Children, published in 1980, capitulated him to literary fame, and this has been considered his best work to date. It also significantly shaped the course of Indian writing in English. The novel is a fable about modern India. It narrates the tale of post-colonial India through the tale of a Muslim boy, Salim Sinai. India and Pakistan, or the themes of Midnight Children and Shame is the same, India and the Pakistan. Shame, that was been published in 1983. This novel is based on contemporary politics in Pakistan. It deals with the problems of that Pakistan are facing, which was created to separate the Muslim from the Hindus when England gave control of India. The fourth novel, The Satanic Verses. This novel made him a very controversial figure. Muslim community denounced the novel all over the world, considering this novel as a blasphemous novel, offensive for its harsh, critical portrayal of Islam, portrayal of their Pagambar, their Prophet Muhammad. He has to face great challenge because of this novel. The publication of the Satanic Verses caused a huge controversy. Many people found Rushdie's depiction of the Prophet Muhammad, a very important figure in Islam, to be disrespectful. When Rushdie refused to apologize, many took action against him. A fatwa was issued against him. A fatwa is a religious order from one of the Muslim clerics who are in charge in many Middle Eastern countries. The order against Rushdie claimed that his blasphemy in the Satanic Verses was worthy of execution. The British government put Rushdie under police protection. While in England, he continued to write. Perhaps in response to fatwa, he wrote a children's book known as Haroon and the Sea of Stories. It is an allegorical book written in defense of the power of stories over silence. The novel is about a famous storyteller who all of a sudden loses his ability to weave and tell tales. The son of the storyteller makes a fantastic, adventurous journey to save his father and to save stories. The danger of storytelling. This is a concept that Rushdie knows better than most. Rushdie spent 9 years in living in secrecy. Then his another novel, that is Imaginary. It's not novel, it is actually a collection of essays and criticism published in 1991, Imaginary Homelands. The very title is very significant. You can understand the people who have migrated or shifted to the another country and they are thinking about their homelands, imaginary homelands. One essay from this book I will advise you to read that will be helpful to you to understand Midnight's Children. That essay is The Errata in Midnight's Children. This was a part of collection titled Imaginary Homelands. Errata means a mistake, confusion that has been portrayed in any book. Errata or unreliable narration in Midnight's Children. In this essay, Salman Rushdie is defending his character Salim Sinai, also himself, the writer who has projected this character Salim Sinai, for putting wrong details in the text. He discusses the deliberate errors, confused and muddled version of events which he has deliberately or indeliberately portrayed in the novel Midnight's Children. For an example, Lord Ganesha has been said that he has written Ramayana. So it is a wrong use of mythology. Actually, he got confused between Valmiki and Vyas. The another very significant details about Indian politics, he has given wrong details. That is about the death of Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. The date that is related with the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi is given wrong in the novel. East West, published in 1994. The Moor's Last Sight, published in 1995. The Vintage Book of Indian Writing, 1947 to 1997. This book is an anthology of the work. especially the most important Indian writers who are writing in English. This work he has co-edited with Elizabeth West. Here, Rushdie is highly appreciating the writers who are writing in English. It is about the Indian English writers. He claimed here that the most interesting literature of post-independence India was in English. He is charging the regional writers. He is saying that, or blaming them because of their parochialism, means their narrow-mindedness. They are creating small, local, less exposure they do have, and he is highly appreciating Indian English writers for their cosmopolitanism. Rushdie is not a critic, but he has become so influential personality that his words are counted very seriously. Joseph Anton, it is most autobiographical in nature. It talks extensively about period which he had to spend anonymously in Britain after the fatwa. Joseph Anton, incidentally, is the name that he acquired during that time. The Golden House, published in 2017, explores the immigrant experience in the United States through a wealthy Indian family that settles in New York City in the early 21st century. Quixote, published in 2019, it is inspired by Cervantes' Don Quixote. The list of his work is exhausting. He has written many works on exploring various aspects in his writings. Rushdie is unquestionably a prolific writer who wrote about various issues in discussing various sensitive, burning topics in his writings. His novels are political, historical, philosophical, metaphorical, and contemporary, dealing with various aspects using various styles. He explores in his writing the wide variety of Eastern and Western characters and culture. He has got a lot of exposure while living in different countries, and those experiences he is sharing through his writings. He talks about India's national identity versus British colonization, his definition of migrant identity and the themes of Indian diaspora, the problems of roots, rootlessness, migration, on being between, colonialism and gender, power struggle, power dynamics between colonized and colonizer, between men and women. Rushdie's women, in spite of the limitation of their gender and religious taboos, show a positive tendency towards emancipation. He has created a varieties of medley of women characters. At times, he has presented them as super powerful Shaktis, like Durga and Parvati in Midnight's Children. Integration of the bizarre and the miraculous subjects and issues is a hallmark features of his writing. Profound themes presented with fantasy, various aspects, trivial, insignificant, fantastical elements, all the issues and subjects are integrated in a very explicit way in his writing. He talks about the history and culture of India and Pakistan. At times the clashes, at times the acceptance of the different culture and their religion. He has expressed his need to move beyond tradition. He has shown religious uncertainty. Muslim reformation, he talks about Muslim reformation. He brings the core concept of Islam into the modern age. He combats against jihadist ideologues. He favors or supports broad-mindedness, open-mindedness. What does it mean? It means tolerance for other people, for other religion, for the people who are other. He challenges the traditionalists. He asks for reform. In his opinion, it is a time to open the windows. Windows means the closed ideologies and principles, outdated, orthodoxical notions about the life, so that to let in much needed fresh air, fresh ideologies, fresh thoughts. He thinks it is a time to deconstruct and reconstruct the age-old ideologies. Rushdie's treatment of sensitive religious, political, cultural subjects made him a controversial figure. As we have discussed, a fatwa was issued against of him when he talks about something orthodoxical in religion, and when he talks something wrong done by the politicians, he's been objected, questioned. Like directly he is mentioning Indira Gandhi and Sanjay Gandhi in the text, Midnight Children. Indira Gandhi became very unhappy, and because of her force, power, he has to remove those lines. Let's do the discussion of some other features of his writing. He is known for melding different cultures and traditions in his writings. His oeuvre is a fine example of amalgamation and assimilation of various cultures, traditions, mythologies, religion that make his work complex, at times confusing. But when one is able to explore the themes, one is able to decode the meanings, then one enjoys. So complexities are at times enthralling as well. His work often deals with the confusion and misunderstandings between two cultures, especially the East and the West. He celebrates the post-colonial subjects in his writing. Most of his text has been called as a post-colonial text. Subjects like cultural dominance, quest for identity, relationship between colonized and colonizer, problems and promises of decolonization, especially questions relating to the political and cultural independence of formerly subjugated people. He questions conventional, traditional, orthodoxical views on religion, politics and social forms, for which he has become, at times, he has to face challenges and becomes a controversial figure. Magic realism. Magic realism is a style in which fantastic, imaginative elements are depicted in a sharply detailed, realistic manner. Means that incorporates both in it, magic, fantasy and realism. Rushdie has made great contribution in making an experiment with language. His love for English is apparent in his word play and his fantastic use of language, which shaped the course of Indian English literature. Rushdie's use of English is a notable and complex example of linguistics and stylistics. He has been lauded for his energizing use of language. He has Indianized, revitalized, chutneyfied and decolonized the English language. The process of chutneyfication of English through blending of Hindi, English, Urdu words adds a special flavor to his writing. Salim Sinai works in a pickle factory, the narrator of the story of the Midnight Children, and he is interested in chutney. Chutney is a dish in India where the different elements are put together, different ingredients are put together, and one is relishing this dish, one is not able to tell which aspect he or she is relishing, because all the ingredients are mixed so much. So this is the word that has been used for the language used by Rushdie, chutneyfication of English, means mixing of many words from the other languages. These are the significant aspect of his features of his writings. Midnight Children has been called as a watershed in the post-independence development of the Indian English novel, to the extent that the decade after its publication has been called post-Rushdie. Watershed means an event marking a turning point in literary field. Midnight Children holds a distinct position. It has changed the entire identity and entire reception of Indian writing in English. For its unique manner and matter, the novel has received great accolades. For Midnight Children, Rushdie received both the Booker Prize and the James Tate Black Memorial Prize in 1981. The novel subsequently won the Booker of Bookers and the Best of the Bookers, respectively 1993 and 2008. You can see the recognition, the awards this book is always getting, and its worth recognition is never diminishing, rather day by day increasing. In 2003, the novel was listed on the BBC survey, The Big Read. It was also added to the list of great books of the 20th century published by Penguin Books. Various writers have time to time written about this work. Plethora of works are available written on Midnight Children, and various writers are giving their praise for this work. This is a spectacular work. It has received multiple accolades at the national and international level. Amit Chaudhary has described Midnight Children as a Nehruvian epic. Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our Prime Minister, significant person after the independence. So this novel is talking about him. So he is elevating the status of this novel to the status of our Prime Minister. Bill Puffer, one of the American journalists as well as critics, according to him, it was Rushdie who made everything possible for the post-colonial Indian writers. He opened new vistas, new avenues for the writers writing in Indian English language. Arundhati Rai is also of the same opinion. She says, after Rushdie, after Midnight Children, it is possible for all of us to tell our stories. So the Indian writers who are writing in English, now they are able to make an experiment. They can write the way they want. Now English has become for them the language of their emotional makeup. In the preface of Kantapura, Raja Roy has made this remark that English is not the language of our emotional makeup but rather intellectual makeup. And it is very difficult to express our nuances, our thought process, our stories in an alien language. But now this problem is no more. The language has been used by the writers who are writing in English as a language of their emotional makeup, and Rushdie's contribution is great in this field. Hari Kunjru, one of the very recent writers, he has confessed that it was Midnight Children which inspired him to write his novel, The Impressionist. Midnight Children had a liberating effect on Indian writers. The question comes, what is this liberation? Liberation from what? Liberation from Macaulaydian mandates. Midnight Children liberated the Indian novel from the considerable anxiety and undue influences to which it had been subject following the period when they started writing. Salman Rushdie has paid no attention to how a novel should be written conventionally, nor he did paid attention how the king or the queen was using English language. He made an experiment and he is very bold, very confident the way he uses the language. His language is very playful, it is hybrid, it is highly irreverent, it simply does not care. Rushdie impresses and challenges the reader by the richness of the language which he has used and experiments which he has made in enriching it. One of the chief features of postmodern writing is the blurring of the distinctions between the genres or the excess use of various genres that you can see. He has used various genres. Some of them I am just discussing here. This novel is a Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman is a novel that deals with the life of a sensitive character, his moral, psychological, physical growth. The present novel deals with the life of Salim Sinai from his childhood to adulthood. Salim Sinai looks for answers to his questions through different experiences. Nation Roman. Rushdie has inaugurated a new genre, Nation Roman. It is about the growth of the nation, how the nation is being born and how it goes through different phases. At personal level, the novel Midnight Children is Bildungsroman, and at the national level, it is the Nation Roman. The narrative keeps on vacillating between an individual's experience and a national historiography. The character Salim Sinai was born at midnight in 1947 and the nation India was also born. So the two historiography, the personal and the public, they are moving together. So Bildungsroman and Nation Roman both are going together. It is an allegory of Indian history. Allegory is a kind of extended metaphor where the apparent storyline or imagery corresponds to a distinct set of ideas that may not necessarily be a part of the surface narrative. So there are the two layers of meaning, the surface narrative and the deeper meaning. So here in the novel, we just see, we come across the life history of Salim Sinai. So the writer is, through Salim Sinai, is telling us the life history of the nation. Midnight Children is a dark, complex allegory of modern India, post-colonial India, projected through the tale of Salim Sinai in an allegorical way, centering on the inextricably linked fates of two children, Salim Sinai and Shiva, who were born within the first hour of independence from Great Britain. Inextricably linked to his nation, Salim's biography is a whirlwind of disasters and triumphs that mirror the course of modern India at its most impossible and glorious way. Salim Sinai's body, Salim Sinai's life, Salim Sinai's fractured identity, all are telling about the nation India. It is an allegory, it is a satire. Salman Rushdie, is critiquing the politics of the post-independent period, especially the Nehruvian period and the emergency that has been declared by Indira Gandhi. It is farce, it is a picarous novel. Character Salim Sinai is moving continuously from one place to the another place. It is a fairy tale, how suddenly a boy who was born in a poor family switched by a rich boy and now living an affluent life. Point of view. This novel is narrated in the first person. Salim Sinai, he is the narrator of the story as well as he is the protagonist of the story. He tells about the events which started before his birth, near about 32 years before his birth. So how he is aware about that? Now he is working as an omniscient narrator. The narrator is subjective, though he claims omniscience as he speculates on the motives and thoughts of all the major characters. Narration in Midnight Children takes the form of a dialogue between two voices, that of Salim and that of Padma, who embodies the audience. Padma and Salim, they are working in a pickle factory. Salim is in fear that very soon he will die, his body will disintegrate. So before his death, before coming to end of his life, he wants to share his experience with this listener, Padma, for the benefit of his child, Ganesh, and also for the benefit of coming readers or coming generation. So he is in a dialogue form narrating his experience to Padma. Various tones are being used in the novel. The setting related with time, the novel begins in 1915 and continues till 1977. A lot of events, incident takes place in between. 1915, a time in a world level when World War was going on, and at India level that various things has happened during this time. There is a shift in Indian politics from moderate to extremists. Now the time has seen Mahatma Gandhi has entered in Indian politics. So various incidents happened during this period 1915. So he is deliberating using this period. 1977, it was a time when an emergency was declared by Indira Gandhi, and the unrest, uproar of Indians have been shown here. The setting related with place, there are the three countries which are being portrayed here, India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And in India, the characters are continuously moving from one place to another place. The story begins in the valley of Kashmir, which has been considered as a place of, as an abode of paradise, heaven on the earth. And from here, the characters are moving to Amritsar, Agra, Delhi, Bombay. Bombay has been known as a cosmopolitan city. Various people, various issues are discussed through the setting of this city, Pakistan, and then back again to India. Midnight Children's importance and significance as a post-colonial text arises from the novel's ability to intertwine three major themes: the creation and telling of history, the creation and telling of a nation's and an individual's identity, the creation and telling of stories. So Salim Sinai's story, the story of the nation and the story of the stories. He is narrating this story to Padma. I have touched some features, some issues that is related with the author and the text. In upcoming discussion, I will present these aspects in details. Thank you. See you in the next lecture.